Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome you all in our masterclass, Growing Up with Animation, How It Shapes and Connects Generations, hosted by CEE Animation and curated by ECFA, the European Children's Film Association. CEE Animation Experience is a series of online webinars organized in cooperation with selected partners in the CEE region. And there have been a number of webinars over the past couple of years, and we all invite you to watch them over and over again on the online services. I want to say a massive thank you to both organizations for making this event happen, and a massive thank you to everyone who is watching us. And now that we're talking about being thankful, it's my pleasure to mention that this project is co-financed by the governments of the Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, and Slovakia through the Visegrad grants from the Visegrad Fund and Creative Europe Media. Well, me and animation, we were not exactly destined for success. The first film I ever saw must have been an animation, but I didn't see much of it. All I remember from Bambi was how my mom took me out of the cinema while I was screaming and crying hysterically. And then the second film I ever saw must have been an animation as well. And again, I didn't see much of it. The one and only film screening we had in primary school was with a film that must ring a bell with at least one of our panelists today. It was a Swedish animation called Dunderklumpen, projected with one of those 16mm cameras, projectors, and somewhere during the second reel, the lamp must have overheated, and that's where the session ended. And it took me 25 years before I finally found out how the story ends. So the screening was a disappointment and gave me the idea that cinema, and especially animated films, never would work out well with me. And here I am, several decades later, ready to convince you that animation is the perfect media to address young audiences. So that sounds like a match made in heaven. When I say made in heaven, I automatically think about today's four speakers. We brought together for you four experts from different stages in the production and dissemination trajectory. Let's start with the director. We present you Linda Hambäck, animation film director from Sweden, who made films like Gordon and Paddy and The Ape Star that have successfully been distributed in many European countries and intensively toured the children's film festival circuit. To talk from a producer's point of view, we present you Réka from Hungary, whose company Cinemon Entertainment has been involved in massive European co-productions in animation such as Barbaren, Petson and Findus. The distributor's voice in today's panel is the beautiful voice of Maciej Jakubczyk, representing New Horizons from Poland, an association involved in all aspects of young audience cinema like education, festivals, formation, but also distribution. And Maciej is also a board member of our organization, ECFA. And as we definitely want to include the voice of the festivals, we present you Zuzana Bahulova, curator of the animation section in the Zlín Film Festival in Czech Republic, the oldest and biggest festival of its kind in Europe. And as a bonus for this panel, Zuzana is also a successful designer and animator. To get to know them a little bit better, let's pass around the mic, well, metaphorically. I know them all as extremely humble people, but yet I will force them to answer a pretty boastful question. So if you see them blushing a bit, please blame it on me. Because I want to know from them, why are you the perfect person for our panel today? And while answering this question, you can, some of them will also screen a clip of your work. First, let's ask director Linda Hambäck, why are you the perfect person for today's panel?
I wouldn't say I'm the perfect person. I think that all people that strives to work within animation would be suitable for this panel, because I do 2D animation, and I'm very happy to be part of Europe, that we can do 2D animation and that it's still very appreciated. and that we also has this that we work with creativity and also like it's art in one way, combined with storytelling and trying to tell a story to the audience. And I think that's very unique, and we have done that for many years and tradition in Europe. And I think so all of us that strives for that, I think we would be suitable for this panel. But I think it's very important to also to fight for the 2D animation, and I would like to speak more about that later on in this panel. And I have a clip for you from my latest film called The Ape Star that we could see. It's about a story about a girl called Jonna lives at an orphanage, and one day there is this gorilla coming to adopt her, and that's the story of her being having that everybody could become your family. So just roll it.
Jonna has lived at the Sunnyside orphanage all her life.
Hey, kid, careful.
One day, something unexpected changed Jonna's life forever.
Always remember to wash your hands.
Welcome home. Yes, I can talk. Call me Gorilla. You know what?
Wow. Beep, beep, beep. Beep, beep.
Tord Fjordmark wants to buy the junkyard, our home. He wants to build a giant aqua park. I'm not selling this place.
What? She lets the kid drive?
Follow me. What are you doing?
Come on, you couldn't possibly believe I would allow Jonna to wallow in a junkyard with a wild beast.
I want you to remember this place.
Mommy.
Join Jonna and Gorilla on their quest. The Ape Star.
Don't let go.
I'll never let you go, Jonna.
Thank you so much, Linda. We will now ask the same question to producer Réka Temple, and we'll see how humble she is in answering our question. Réka, why are you the perfect person for today's panel?
Well, actually, I don't believe in perfection. I believe that humans make mistakes and humans are different. So if 4 different persons would be at this panel, the discussion would be completely different. I cannot underline enough Linda's that 2D animation is a very human and very personal animation technique, and we're a 2D animation studio. However, I think I am one of the right persons to be here because I'm working in animation for 29 years, and I would like to hide this number because you would count how old I am. But all these 29 years were a real pleasure, and we have produced 8 to 10 animated feature films, all European and international co-productions, many television series and commercials and book editing. So, and mostly for children. So I'm a very fierce advocate of children's programs. So I hope I can answer your questions and have an interesting discussion with all my panelists. And recently we have produced 4 Souls of Coyote, which is a animated feature film based on Native American creational myth. And I think it's the right moment to see the clip, see the teaser of it.
Get your men ready. We need to start tomorrow morning.
At first we knew but darkness, a pitch black void. There was nothing, only a dream.
And here the hearts they could break through stones, but here the cold it cuts to the...
Who are you for?
Don't you know? It's your dream.
Coyote, these are your creatures. You made them. You are responsible for these 2.
Something's changed here. They don't need a creator anymore.
Don't believe a word he says!
What's going on with the cell service?
Send it over right away.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were living in the 21st century.
Grandpa, was that the end?
Of course it is not.
We cannot live without each other.
What could possibly be so important to justify drawing blood?
Back to the forest! I really messed up.
Fire! Did you bring them here?
I fear something's on the horizon. We will not run!
Nothing is eternal but the earth and the mountains.
Thank you, Réka. Let's hear how Maciej Jakubczyk, our distributor in today's panel, will promote himself as the perfectly placed person in today's panel. Please, Maciej.
Thank you. I will just defend why I feel okay being here, and I will feel that I have at least something to say. I have a great opportunity in New Horizons to watch the process of films becoming films from the very scratch. We have an umbrella of kids festival. It's called Kids Kino Festival. That's happening in Warsaw in September. And on the umbrella of this festival, we do a development workshop. So I can have an opportunity to see how the ideas are becoming more and more developed for films, and then how they look for international partners on a pitching forum that is happening during the festival. And then we premiere those films, observing them sometimes for years already. When they were in lab, they premiere them on the festival. And then, of course, the crucial point is distribution, crucial point from the audience reaching perspective. But our distribution is divided into a regular distribution, like open market fights on every weekend for the audience and the screens, etc. But also a very important part is educational screenings. That means that we can observe how the film do and meet with audience on a very quality screenings with lectures before teaching materials, etc. in over 100 cinemas in Poland, which we program for a school year-long screenings. It's for actually kindergartens and schools. So in terms of the films that we are showing in animation, we specialize actually in both. We simply say that we invite to the festival and then distribution quality films for young audiences, because I'm focused on young audiences. That's something to underline. And we are not only speaking here probably about only underage content, but we do 2D animations such as and also on the edge of being artistic animations like Marona Fantastic Tale or a famous Invasion of Birds over Sicily. But we also do films like Calamity Jane, which was a little bit more in a different style. But then we do Belle, which was an anime. And so it's another jump for a different style and different type of film, which actually differs from the latter ones. Puppet animations like Even Mice Belong in Heaven, but also sometimes bigger films like Argonauts that are now being released in France as a Patty Colère de Poseidon, so Patty and the Anger of Poseidon, a French CGI animation. So I have this scope to bring my knowledge here from this perspective.
Thank you. We'll be looking forward to that. And I'm particularly curious to hear how festival programmer Zuzana Bahulova will justify her position in today's panel. Please, Zuzana, tell us.
Hello. So why I should be here in this panel? The reason is that I'm working for Zlín Film Festival as a programmer, and it means that every year I see around 400 animation from around the world, and I have to choose with my colleague just 50 animation. And it means that actually I know every year what's new on the market. And also when I'm watching on the animation, I have to look on the animation with the kind of child eyes. So, and also I have to follow our festival rules that, for example, what should not be in the animation or what is cool probably for the kids. So like I have to be honest to myself to choose the best for kids. And the final things why I'm also probably in this panel is that I'm animator, and a few of my animation were focused for child audience, and a few of them were like had educative aspect in the animation. So I think that's the reason why I'm here, and thank you that I can be here.
Is there a clip that you wanted to show us about
Yes.
your animation?
So, actually, you can watch the new reel with our selection from this year, what we pick up or what we choose for our festival. So please play it.
Thank you all very much for your introduction. Let's start with this ultimate cliche: animation is for children. Maybe all your life you have been fighting to refute this statement, but today we will turn the world upside down. There's two partner organizations in this event. CEE Animation often focuses on animation as a mature art form that addresses adult or can address adult audiences. And ECFA strives for a broad spectrum of children's films, including live action, documentaries, or even experimental cinema for young audiences. Still, together, we want to convince you that animation is the perfect medium for addressing children. Is that really so, Maciej, Jakubczyk?
Of course it's not, and it's in a way banal answer. But then the question is of course deeper, because from my perspective, it's all about how we address the films that we are doing and distributing from the very beginning, so from the scratch of the idea to the film, and this is a very important thing, because of course the first spot of many people that could be our audience is that animations are for children, and that whenever the animation is going to, for instance, cinema, we should think that probably it will be for children, so not for me in my private time as an adult. And then it's very important what the clear sign we are doing from the very beginning of one sentence description of the film, what's going on in the film and how it looks like, etc. And I kind of been there with Belle, with this anime, which is a Beauty and the Beast kind of story, and then we have really huge struggle how to convince cinemas how they should play this film. The former film of Mamoru Hosoda, Mirai, was the same case. Nobody knows what to do with it, and so whenever you, as a creator, can do a very clear sign from the very beginning where you're heading and what's your audience, it's of course not what's your audience entirely, but what's your primary audience that you want to think. It's making the distributor life and then your life, because I bet you count that there will be some people who will see your film and that your film will circulate easier. Yeah, that's this kind of examples like I Lost My Body, the film from 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or the Unicorn Wars, which was from last year. Those are films that are giving a very clear sign that they are for adults, and then I mean for a grown-up audience or art house audience, and then there's a number of films that are in between. And I got to say that I don't want to underline here some flops that we got, but I have to share that one of the most beautiful films that I've seen and we distributed was famous Invasion of Bears over Sicily. But then it was probably one of the hardest film to address to the audience, and nobody knows whether this is a story for kids because it appears like this, and the log line and the tagline of the film actually it is like for kids, but then the story is maybe not so much for kids, and I know that that creators love to do it freely. I mean, not to be too much focused on the audience and too much focus whether this is for 18 plus, 6 minus, etc. But then I've been a number of times as a distributor, and I have to underline that in the situation when the producer, sales, maybe not sales, but producer and director is coming to us, and then we do like, we don't know what to do with that, and it's a very cruel moment for a creator. So as a distributor, I feel the mission to give this warning sign for the very early stage of development of different films. And obviously animation could be for everybody. Just one sentence last, that for most family films that are success in cinemas, they are success in cinemas and in distribution because those films are also for adults. Yeah.
We'll get there later, but I want to ask Zuzana the same question about animation being for children. You just told us that when you do your work as a curator for the festival, you kind of force yourself to watch through the eyes of children. What does it learn you? What do you get from this?
I think that child doesn't need everything so specific in the animation. Sometimes it can be very simplified, and I think child has a big imagination, or children, and it doesn't have to be so specific. And about this is animation, to say difficult things in the very basic language in a way. So like difficult things you can say through the animation language and it works perfectly. So, and it doesn't have to be future movie. It has just 1 minute and there is everything said in the story. And I think animation all over support children creativity, and that's like the things what is cool, I think. So.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Before we continue, of course, I have some questions for this panel, but I'm also counting on you, people watching us. Please feel free to post your questions in the chat if you watch us live. These questions will end up in mysterious ways in my chat room, and by the end of our session, we'll take some time to discuss them with our panelists. We have been speaking about like the artistic point of view, but of course, there's also a commercial point of view why animation for children should be like the perfect way to be successful. Of all films for children, animation films are the ones that most easily transcend the domestic market, and therefore the ones that travel most easily and can make an international career. That's what often has been said among producers and distributors, but I wonder if the producer in our panel can confirm it.
I think children are super open-minded, and they are very open-minded to various contents and various techniques and various cultural messages. So I think in a way it's easier to show them various subjects and feature film and formats. On another way, I think it's also, we can test kids. I mean, if we produce a book adaptation and we know that in a market, a book or a content is, or a brand is very popular, then it's a good idea to produce a feature film or a television series out of it. Also, for domestic release, I think it's a great tool. Animation is a great tool to present cultural contents like nursery songs or nursery rhymes or poems or even visual cultural contents, because you can easily communicate with children through animation. So I think it's a great tool, animation, because it's really, you have no boundaries and it reflects on the imagination of a child. So I think it's a great tool, of course.
Yeah, but what about the distributor's point of view, Maciej? Is it so that animation travels more easily than live action features? Is it easier to sell them abroad?
Yeah, I can say what we are bringing to Poland on the sales, but definitely yes, and so, yeah, from the perspective of the pitching forum, definitely yes, and but the answer to this question is something that I think it will be forever a kind of mystery. We can only have some thesis about it, and of course, what Linda said, what Réka said is that that the animation language is very universal, and I think that from the distribution perspective, just audience don't like too much, too direct setup of films. And live action film, you have mostly very direct setup. So there's a character, and you cannot avoid that it looks like a boy or girl in a certain age, yeah, like 12 years old, which is already killing the audience over 12. And maybe the 6 years old wouldn't reconnect with this 12 years old. Then there is the setup of the backgrounds, and I hate to say that, but I get this thesis that most of the family audience want to see, in a way, more glamorous setups. That means schools that looks nice, surroundings that looks nice, cars that are like rather from the nice place, and therefore, for instance, when we are showing a Polish film, I don't know, in some other country which is from, let's say, Western Europe, and we have some surroundings from suburbs that are maybe not so, in a way, looking so nice, then it looks like it's a kind of poor film for somewhere, and that's also why the US films, family films, are selling so well, etc., etc. I know that sounds brutal and very barbarian in a way, but when I was thinking about why these live action films are not traveling so well, I find that this might be one of the points. And in animation, of course, it's way more universal. Even if it's an animal as a main character, you don't have to bet whether it's 10 years old, 20 years old, or is an adult or teenagers, etc. So this is not pointing to narrow the audience. And
I'm happy that you bring up the US market, because I know this was something that was specifically on Linda's mind. When we say internationally traveling, films traveling internationally, we mainly refer to the European market, because the non-European market would ask for an even totally different approach. Linda?
But I would also like to dip in the other question before I go to this question. Is also why I think film animation travels so well. I think it's the fantasy. A child wants a fantasy, and you can explore the world in different. I mean, when you go to Miyazaki's world, you just, when you see those fantasy world, you want to dive into that world. And I think that's, as you say, Réka, that the child is very open-minded. And we want, it's a fantasy that you want your animal pet to talk to you. And that, I think that the storytelling for the young audience is so wide that you can, create these different worlds. And that's what's also, before you get into all the problems that is with the climate change and with the war and everything, you want to disappear somewhere and go into a new world. And I think that's, if you see also the adult world, The Last of Us now did so well because of, you want to dive into zombies. I don't even like zombies, but I like The Last of Us because you want to dive into something else that you have never seen before. And animation is so good in doing that because you can really create those worlds from a filmmaker's point of view, I think, together. And I also want to emphasize that the filmmaking is like really a teamwork, and we need, the producer, the director, the distributor, but we also have to strive and to, from the filmmaker point of view, myself, I also don't want to think about the audience so much, but we have the producer, we have the distributor, and we all want to narrow the film, to angle it out so it gets a wide audience. But I think also it's important that you keep on to not think about as a filmmaker to be as wide as possible, because create this fantasy world, you need to not think internationally. You think about it, you know, in the wide, but you also need to go into this, what story do you want to tell? That's the whole thing. If you don't have a story, you don't have anything. So I think for your question regarding the international market, I think for us, it's for doing 2D animation, it's our dream to conquer the world. But as a tradition, we have had so far that in Europe we are very keen on to have the artistic, you know, with us, and to say the animation is really broad. It's like to say, you know, it's a restaurant. You can, you know, different restaurants have different, you know, target audiences who wants to eat their food. You know, you have some change and you have these, you know, so it's the same with animation. The animation should be broad. Some should be very, you know, broad for just keeping the market going, and some films need to be the one that's very artistic. And I think that the broad thing is the thing that is really important for the audience. And hopefully we are all struggling now to keep on how the cinema distribution should, you know, go on, and we fight for that. And we need to just, you know, to meet up and see how should we angle these films and how should they reach the audience in somehow. I heard from a financer just yesterday that in the US now, they have to reach out to the audience, they have like these 14 to 15-year-olds, girls and boys, you know, doing all their market. They are the one who do the marketing on TikTok, and they do all the commercials for all the content that, you know, so to reach out. And I don't know if that's the right way to go, but it's I think everybody's struggling now how to reach out. I think that's, yeah. I don't know if this was the answering of the question, Gert, but someone.
At least it brings me to the subject that I want to address, because you say you don't want to think too much about the audience, but I would even like to take it one step further when we talk about producing children's films. To be successful on the international market, it might be important to keep the costs for an international release, for instance, the dubbing, as low as possible. And I recently witnessed a discussion with the Belgian animated filmmaker Arnaud de Monk and some anonymous distributor. And the more I heard Arnaud's enthusiasm about all the beautiful songs in his film, it was about Yuki and the Himalayan flower, the more I saw this distributor turning pale and white, and as every song came with substantial extra costs for the dubbing. Is this something that a filmmaker can or should keep in mind during the production process, especially when talking about animated films for children? Are there certain criteria that a producer or distributor should keep in mind to make the children's film travel more easily? Réka.
Actually, I don't think that there is one rule that all of us should follow. I mean, if someone knew the recipe for a successful film, everyone would work the same way. I don't know it, others can't know it as well, or either. I think the question remains, what means success? Maybe a wide audience means success for someone. I don't think that that's the most successful like target for our company or for our films. I think success is when you have a discussion with the kids, and maybe it's a very specific subject and you have a preschool target age, and it's not for the whole family or it's not for everyone, but it's specifically for a specific target age, and they become richer when they see this film. I think it means success. And of course, there are many other aspects to be successful. I don't think that producers, directors should keep in mind what will cost, like a dubbing cost. Of course, adult film can be subtitles, children cannot read subtitles, so it should be included. Dubbing cost should be included in the production cost, of course, but it's the way to choose a song or a theme And thinking about how much it will cost at the end, I think it's not the right way to produce the film. I think you should be authentic. You should find the right song, the right dubbing, the right theme. And then if all the ingredients are in the film, then you will reach your audience, and then you will reach success, whatever it means to anyone.
Linda, do you have to add something to that?
Yeah, I never think about, I never think about that, because I always think about what is suitable for the story. You know, that's the core. I mean, and I do the other way. I work with Stellan Skarsgård, and the highest, I try for the Swedish dub, or for the Swedish, as I do Swedish. Yeah, I try to get the highest, the best actors for this, because that will also, I think, because of they are good, and also that will give a value to the film. And when it dubs them to other countries, they will see these international stars, and they will see the good acting, and then they will be inspired to do a great dub. So that's how I'm thinking, the vice versa, that I would never think about the money situation. That's because I think the only thing you have to do is, as a filmmaker, is to direct the best film, to do what is good for the story. Do we have a song? We have a song. Do we have something, you know? So I never think about that. But of course, someone could probably knock me on the shoulder, but it hasn't been so far. I think also that it will, if you have good people on board, as you know, all of you, then people will, you know, it will be attracting. The project will be also a positive in one way. So I don't know, but that's my point of view.
So you don't keep in mind the costs, you don't keep in mind the audience, yet I still want to know what the audience would prefer in a film, what a children's audience is looking for when they are watching animated films. Zuzana, in your festival, you see a lot of children watching a lot of different animations in a lot of different formats. Are there some specific things that come to your mind when you ask yourself, what is a children's audience looking for?
First of all, I would say that we always come to the cinema to watch on the screening when childs are in the cinema, to see their feedback, because they are super honest. And when they don't like it, they show it. When they love it, they show it as well. So it is good to see how they react on it. And also when we are working on selection, we think about the duration of the animation, because we know that for especially for a small child, to look on animation that has, for example, 12 or 15 minutes, that is maximum, it is too long for them. So we think about this aspect, the duration. And the other aspect is also the voiceover. Sometimes the voiceover can be very difficult for them. So I would kind of recommend to do animation without voiceover. It is kind of more natural for the child. They understand it even without the words. But I understand on the other hand that also sometimes the story needs the language and to say something. So it is like not easy to do animation for children. So
even if we say that we, by the way, thank you, Zuzana, because even if we say that we don't think too much about what the young audience is looking for, I want to share an initiative with you that we do in Belgium, and that is organized by the Belgian company Jeff, where we bring animators in touch with small focus groups of children to give their opinion about animated works in progress. They will speak their mind out about the character study so that the kids will get to know the characters and say how they perceive them. Kids have a say about the atmosphere that is reflected in the background. Sometimes even certain details in the narrative are discussed. And usually afterwards, we get the reaction from the animated filmmakers that this has been really helpful to point out specific details and to see how the young audience experiences them. Is this something that you could imagine to be involved in, Réka or Linda, when one of your films is in its production process?
I think it's a great initiative. It's always very difficult to find the right people to watch your work at an early stage of production. I think it's extremely useful for feature films. We are doing this, so we show animatic to young audience as well, and we're listening to what they say. Of course, it's not very easy to show animatic because it's black and white, but their imagination is filling the drawings one to the other, and also filling some colors onto it. So it's not, it sounds more difficult than it is. So we believe that we show the work in early stage to professionals and also for a younger audience. I think it's extremely important, because if they don't understand something, then we have to think, even though we know it's in the script, we know what we would like to express, if they don't get it, then it's not okay, because we cannot be at their shoulder at the theaters, and we cannot explain it later on. Even if the rhythm is not okay, something is too slow or too fast. So when my kids were like younger, they were the most target age, but now we're also searching for colleagues, kids, and also sometimes classes, but it's more difficult. So if it was more common, even in our country, to have organized pitching forums for young audience, I think it would be great.
For me, it always turns out that the biggest problem to deal with is the kids' enthusiasm, and that's of course a very positive thing to say about those children. But they watch so easily through all the shortcomings in a cinematic. They just don't care about it, and they get carried away by their enthusiasm. And still, you want their voices to be as critical as possible. But yeah, for us, it always worked really well. I can imagine, Linda, that you can imagine yourself.
Yes, I have done that for like when it's scary parts. We had some, in Gordon Padde, there is this, I don't know what you, folks that comes and should be a little bit threatening. And as it is for the smallest children, we had that as a, we took it up and showed them, and we had to recut and edit because it was too scary. So we have done that, but for us in Sweden, unfortunately, we have not so much money for doing great animatics. So even the financing people, they think it's very difficult to see the whole story. So to show that for kids, it would be impossible, or those notes would not be good. But it would be a dream if we would be able to do very, fine line animatics, then we could screen it, but we haven't had those budgets so we do them very rough.
Just for your information, we already do it without the animatic, or before the animatic phase. We introduced a children focus group for character studies and color studies and everything. The international market, and this is one of the reasons, Linda, why I insisted to have you on this panel. The international animation market is dominated by what is called family entertainment, taking it for granted that every children's film needs an extra layer for grown-ups. You already told us that you don't think about the audience too much, or you don't have them in mind when developing your film, and especially not the grown-up audience, I suppose. Is it really so that an animated film cannot stand on its own feet without this extra layer for adults?
But I want to change a little bit about that comment, because I do think about the audience in one way, but I think as a filmmaker, I think it's important that you really make the film that you really love and is passionate about. And it just happens for me that I do it for kids. I love, it's my imaginary world, how I create those films. So I really make the films from my point of view. And it just happens that the audience has liked them so much. So I think it's also important that you have different angles on how you go into the project with the storytelling and so on. And I do write for things for the grown-ups and families too, because I think it's funny, you know, but it's more that I don't want it to be streamed, that you do it only for the audience. Me as a filmmaker have to, you know, fight for it to do it artistically in one way of, you know, because it's a passion, you know, and you want to make the best film from the script, from your eyes in one way. And then of course, if it's scary moments or other things that you can, you know, that could keep the story be told even better. Of course, I'm open to that all the time, and people will tell you all the time during the production. But I think it's important that for a filmmaker's point of view, that you do think that you're not making the film for children. It's like, because there's a layer of also liking, oh, that's something that they would like. Then you need to feel passion. I think I think Miyazaki didn't think about, I'm gonna make this for kids. He did it for his own. This is his way of telling the story. And I think it's, I also think actually that Pixar and those, even if they do have a huge market department, they do feel those filmmakers are passionate about their baby, you know, carrying it all the way on during this, you know, road of hardness through production. But I think it's, that's what I mean with the team, that we do have different angles to you know, different tasks in the production, what we think about and focus on during the production. Yes.
What about you, Maciej, as a distributor? Do you believe in the concept of family entertainment, and do you see a way around this dominating or market dominating concept of family entertainment?
I think it's the crucial point is what Réka said, is how you define your success. I mean, I think we are very much in a way privileged in the European market that that film is considered as art and is massively subsidized, and then many of creators and people responsible for films have the kind of comfort not to so much count on the number of audience, but for instance the quality of audience or festivals, etc. But on a very general level, I of course very much family content, so with the layer for adults is the one that sells, the one that brings audience. And I as a distributor, but also educator and festival organizer, I very much feel that reaching the audience is not only about money. Reaching the audience is also about the message that you bring, not to a narrow group, but to the wider group. And observing the changing society of Poland nowadays, I very much feel that it's very important to go out of the comfort zone of people that already kind of know the message you want to bring them, or are living and bringing up in families which most probably will take care about the message you are bringing to them, also to others that are more carte blanche and more not in such a comfort position. That means that I am very pro-commercial points that help to sell the film. So this family layer, of course, helps on some level and on the very, very massive level. But as a distributor, also we managed to notice that there is a gap actually on the market, especially for small kids content. And we actually distributed Gordon and Paddy, and we loved it. We distributed also Yuku as the film for preschools and very early schools. And those films, I love them, and the audience love them, and actually parents appreciate that there is not a strong layer in a very direct way for adults that is devoted for preschoolers. So even though I thought that the strongest films in terms of box office are the one with the family and the adults message, and here it could be brought to the film in many ways. Of course, could be very barbarian when you have two characters shouting one to another for the whole half film with very ironic dialogues, but it also could be brought in more like, you know, sophisticated ways and still works for adults. But then for Poland, I can say that we can have thousands of admissions, maybe even up to 100,000, having a film which is devoted for small kids themselves. But I got to say that this counts for kids preschool to 7 years old. And when you do a film without the adult layer for 7 or 8 or 9 plus as an animation, then it will be a very, very, very niche film. Sorry to say. We've done that with a number of films which we love, but we didn't manage to reach the audience wider, unless in educational screenings.
There is, of course, this recipe that we might get back to later for very young audiences to work with these compilation films, bringing several shorts together. But actually, yes, we have been successfully addressing very young audiences, preschooler audiences. We have the same experience in Belgium. We have been talking about animation for children. We have been talking about this adult layer, but in between children and adults, there's another category of audience. The forgotten target audience. Is it so that we lose teenagers somewhere along the way? Do we know of any successful long animations for teenager audiences? Even if the audience watching us right now has some titles in mind, feel free to post them in the chat, because why is it that we lose our teenage audiences with animation cinema? Maciej, I'll go back to you, because you just brought up these audience categories.
Why we lose them? That's not something that I can answer easily. I can say that the thing that works for us is anime, definitely. So the teenagers coming to because it's also a bit marketing thing, but maybe do not treat marketing as only selling and buying ads, but marketing is something how you reach and group your audience and make them feel that that might be something for them, so something deeper. And then teenagers now are in a way organized in fandoms, which are very broadly speaking different social media groups, and sharing their knowledge there and sharing their whispering marketing there. So therefore it's easier to address animation when they are part of some phenomenon. But honestly, me myself saying, I can say that anime films are very much for them, and I struggle to find out other films that success and really help me here, because and it's why this is the question, because they don't want to be part of family, they don't want to be anymore. I mean, they want to be part of family, but they don't want to be visibly part of the family, and they have better things to do than going Friday night or Saturday morning to cinema with their probably younger brothers or sisters, etc., etc. So they want to be grown-ups, and they are like looking up than down in terms of what they're gonna see.
I think in theaters, family films with extra layers can be sold better. The whole family is going, so it's not one person who is buying the theater ticket, but 4 or 5 persons. So it's a multiplication. Also, I think teenagers, they communicate in different ways, and they might go to theaters with another group of teenagers, but they are looking at streaming services mostly and YouTube, and they are also looking at shorter films or shorter videos. But I don't think that these young audience are lost at all. We have just produced 4 Stars of Clarity, and it has been released in Hungary, and exactly this is 12 plus, and we have reached young audience, teenagers, and the reactions we have received is overwhelming from the audience. That it's also, we have to find a way to reach them from heart to heart or from brain to brain, and it also includes like themes which are interesting for them, like the climate change and climate issues. But the film itself is slower than other typical family films, and still they have the time to get into it, and when they come out, we see the reactions because we are traveling a lot with the film, and the reaction we see from teenagers and really young adults is astonishing. They are very brave and very smart and very intelligent, and maybe it's not hundreds of thousands of people watching the film, but if some thousands of young audience are watching these films, I call it a success. I really name it as a success. To have a dialogue with these people, it's so interesting.
While we are discussing, one last question from me and from the panel, can I please remind the audience that they can post their questions in the chat room so that we can address them to our panel. But since we are talking about children's film, and since we are working with the CEE countries, which is Central and East European cinema, can you maybe promote these countries as perfect partners for the co-production of successful young audience animation? What would be a reason for producers to look for partners in CEE countries when we talk about animation for children? I will ask you first, Réka.
I think CEE countries are very strong in artists, and also I'm in the board of CEE Animation, so I'm really a fierce advocate of CEE Animation and the fierce advocate of co-productions. We have produced all of our films, or most of our films, in co-production. Even financially, it's a good idea because we have subsidies, we have film institutes, we have tax rebate systems everywhere in the world. And if we can collect these subsidies from various countries, it brings a lot of money into the production. But not only the money, it brings a lot of various perspectives and questions you have to answer. And then intellectually, you see various point of views which make your film much interesting. And maybe your answer is no, or maybe your answer is different. Maybe you have a debate, but it's so much more interesting to work with other people and with other questions than just to be within your circle and do what you only want to do. I think internally, because working in animation, it means that your daily basis, you're working with hundreds of people. Like in our studio, we're working with more than 100 people, and we have very intense and very interesting discussion about the film. But working with international partners, it's such an interesting process during the whole. And of course, you can have good experience and bad experience, but you learn something out of it. So I'm very much pro-European or international co-productions.
What about you, Zuzana? You come from a country, Czech Republic, that had a wonderful children's animation tradition. Then it got lost a little bit along the way, but it's reviving now. What about co-producing with Czech Republic specifically for children's animation? Would you recommend it, and why?
I'm sure I would recommend it. I'm very proud about all my colleagues and about their project on what they are doing. And I would say, like, after the Velvet Revolution, there was kind of when the Czech animation industry went a little bit down. But step by step, I would say, like, we are going back where we had our golden time. And I'm pretty sure most of the studios are very open for co-production. And yeah, I would really recommend it because they are very creative. So why not?
Yes, and I would just like to add that I would love to work within the CEE countries, because also now after COVID, I think to work remote and also working with all these technical skills that we can Zoom, we can do, it's so much easier. And also about the, you know, the pipeline now that everything is digital, that remain, you know, that will open up so many doors. And also, I mean, especially that you get so great talented artists, that's really, I think that will be like a super strong position within the animation climate in Europe. And I'm really looking forward to work with you guys. So I'm really, yeah, for my next feature that we have already spoken to a company in Hungary. So we hope that we will, you know, start to work, and we so eager to do that, because then we could also come up in speed in you know, production wise and so on. And I think also actually with all these digital tools, and then we are so used to do this through Zoom, and that we don't have to travel everywhere like all the time, or before it was like someone has to move over and to be there in the studio for like you know, 10 months, and then family wise that might be difficulties for you, and now it's so much easier. So I think this will be the future. Yes.
Thank you, Linda. I guess this was, not to exclude the rest of you, but this must have been my favorite answer that we got so far from all our questions. Yes, we will co-produce with you. I think this is like the best thing to achieve here. And it's also a good ending of our questions, our conversations, but I already received a couple of questions from the audience that I want to address to you. And talking about this international networking, this or co-producing, talking about how easily working on animation can cross borders. There's one question we already brought up, how our European audiences enjoy watching anime, but there is a question from the audience that wondering if animated cinema is that much universal that we can also address the South American or Asian market. Do you think that European production is able to succeed there, or are there any cultural or ideological barriers, and does it differ for animation from live action? Is somebody ready to answer this question?
I could answer. Just, we have been trying, it's everybody's filmmaker's dream to come into both South American and Asian market. It's really a wet dream. So we have been trying with all my films to get in there, and I think it's getting more open now. Asia is really, you know, upcoming country with especially South Korea and Japan, and Japan has been before, but South Korea is coming really, really strongly in all content-wise. So I think it will open up borders. I think so. I think maybe that Asian markets has been a little bit like conservative in that they like their own films the best. But I think that it seems to be that it's open up now, and I think it's really hopeful.
I can say from a other way round perspective, as a distributor watching films from South America from one perspective, and Asia, here particularly from China, and I think that there are some still differences in terms of storytelling, at least looking for films that they want us to be shown here. So very generally speaking, the Latin America films are way more based on dialogues than we, whatever we means, but at least we as a distributor are used to. So the action sometimes is in terms of facts is staying in the same place, and characters are talking and talking and talking. It's a very general thing. In terms of Chinese films, because I've seen recently a couple of films, we have absolutely amazing quality of CGI animation, and also beautiful CGI as well. But then in terms of storytelling, they are so intense and so bloody crazy that we are like, you know, opening our eyes after 20 minutes. Who gonna digest this 90 minutes possible of this kind of intensity? So I'm not saying I'm any kind of specialist. I'm just judging on a couple of films, but I think there are and it's not about not traveling. It's about that probably you have to have a look what people are watching there, what they're used to, and what they're opening step after step now.
Thank you, Maciej. And I think I have similar experiences with the Asian market, and the other way around. There's also a lot of themes that might be addressed easily in Swedish or Scandinavian cinema that are still no-go zones for some audiences in China, for instance. So there's some gaps to cross, but I hope that animation, more than any other genre, will be the genre to cross these borders and fill those gaps and make it happen. Another question that is giving nice compliments to animation is, could it be that animation ages more easily than live action? Why would it be that children are much easier captivated by a 50 years old animated film than by a live action film from the 70s, let's say? So is it so that animation ages more easily and more beautifully?
Some yes, some don't probably. But as it reflects more imagination, I think imagination ages well if you keep it alive. I think the imagination of the kids are really something we shouldn't forget during the years that we get older. And some of us who are working for children are, it's like muscles that we are working on our children's imagination muscles all the time. And I hope that we don't lose it so easily. So I think there is a perfect reason why animation ages nicely.
Anyone has to add something to that? I can only add that people working in animation, they age beautifully. But
I also think of it, it's as you say, Réka, it's because of we don't have any, if you make this world, you know, you're making the universe in some style, the art direction style, then it's easier to age with that than to if you do a live action film, that you have that all the audience has a like a reference direct to just looking out the window if it looks old or you know. So I think it's easier for animation to age well. It's like a painting.
I also have a very, very concrete question from the audience, and I will therefore read it the way it was sent to me. I'm working on an animated documentary series for teens, 13 plus, called Finding Home, on the personal stories of climate refugees from around the world in France, Bulgaria, and USA. Can you advise on European networks that pre-buy such content?
I think he or she should go to pitching the content. There are pitching forums all over the year, and he or she can feel the temperature, how producers, distributors feel about the project. And if they feel that it's interesting, then he'll find a co-production partner or like a pre-sale. But it's, I mean, he or she should go and see if his project is interesting enough or appealing enough for other partners to join. He should prepare a budget and the timeline, and I think pitching forums are the best places to go. You meet a lot. You can pitch your project, and also you can meet people, and you can convince people that your project is interesting. And if it is, then I am sure that he'll find a way to produce it.
can I secretly compliment you on the fact that you were just able to use the sentence, feel the temperature when you talk about film about climate refugees. I think that was a very, very smart move. Anyone else has other advice for how to sell your or pre-sell your documentary series for teenagers?
I just observing what's the meetings on our forum. I think it might be interesting for public broadcasters and also people who do in many ways educational programs, screenings or online and this kind of things. And I think that we even could be somehow interested, but it also very much depends on what visual style and what storytelling style are you going to introduce, how much educational that should be, or how much entertaining with the message that was mentioned it will be, etc., etc. To the 12th of May, we are looking for calls for submissions to our Kids Kino industry for pitching. So if anybody or particular this person is interested, then please apply.
I think we should more or less come to a conclusion. And if we want to convince people in the audience that animation is really the way to go when you want to address a children's audience, I think my last question for all four of you, one by one, would be like, what if you had unlimited budget and unlimited resources, what kind of a project, a production or an event or whatever, what would you like to set up? What would you like to launch in terms of animation for children? I think I should go to Linda first because you work in a very practical way. I mean, your dream project probably would be a film.
Yeah, I think so. I would like to continue to work on the film, but I also think, to be positive, that the budget and so on, it's kind of a I think unlimited is it's hard to work on. I think having these struggles, it keeps you going actually, and put
Linda, I just offer you everything in the world,
I
and
know.
you refuse it.
It
You
gets
say I don't want it.
too big for me. So
Linda.
Yes, I would just like to I would just like to make my next feature that I hope to launch soon. We are getting into financing, and it's always a struggle, and it's always
Linda, what a lack of ambition.
Yes. So
hoping for a spectacular dream project.
Yeah, it gets too big, Gert. It's I have to have more limitations than I work mostly creative. I'm sorry about that, but I hope the others will come up with a huge.
Okay, but nevertheless, if you want to finish your next feature, at least you can tell us then what is the next feature.
No, I can't, but I'll do it next time. Yes.
Okay, Réka, what would be your ultimate dream project with unlimited budget and unlimited resources?
Unlimited budget, unlimited resources.
I would
use for young audience. I would use a small part for a film producing, and I would use the other for many other causes. I think having a limitation in budget is no boundaries for creativity. I think if you know that you have a limited budget, and when you know that you have a limited time, it really requires all your resources intellectually, and also resources from the community you are working with. So I wouldn't use unlimited resources. It would be very frightening for me. I would refuse it. Sorry to say.
I've seen Maciej nodding already, like, yeah, no unlimited resources for me.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that creators here are answering this way, because me personally, I'm having some, let's say, moral issues with spending too much money in nowadays world for films, no matter how valuable the films are. And if I have unlimited resources, I will put a number of great films, like, for instance, Gordon and Paddy, to be very well marketed, and to have organized screenings in very small places where people do not have too much access to the cinemas, and this kind of things that will help the message to go through, not to make even a more expensive film. Sorry to say to creators or some creators.
Zuzana, can you share some ambition, ultimate ambition with us?
I would like to do animation about like animation and documentary. I think it is a good way how to educate child through the animation, and yeah, that would be my kind of dream job. But let's see what will happen, what the future will bring us.
Any specific topic?
Yeah, because I love to do sports, so it would be probably about a sport person. And, you know, sometimes we forget about successful people who deserve something what was like amazing. And I don't want that people forget about it. One of my animation what I did in the past was about Otto Wächter. He developed or invented contact lenses, and the communist regime sold it to USA. And he didn't get any money, but he didn't give up, and he still stayed proud researcher and continue in his work even he didn't get any money from it. And so I think animation should inspire people to believe in themselves, and that's why I would like to do this type of animation about motivating people in the right way.
Zuzana, you have no idea how happy I am with this very concrete answer. Thank you so much. I want to thank all of you for being in this panel, but first, please let me remind the audience that you can watch this session over and over again to the CEE website. You can watch it before you go to sleep, guaranteed a peaceful night rest. You can watch it all dressed up and ready to go out for dancing on a Saturday night to get in the right mood. You can watch it secretly while you're pretending to have fun with your family while watching the Sunday evening quiz on television. You can watch it all the time, and you can tell your friends to do the same. Thank you so much for being with us today, dear audience, and most of all, thank you so much for being with us, to our 4 panelists of today. Also to Maria and Maros, who made it all possible. It was a pleasure to have you here. It was a pleasure to listen to your stories. I'm wishing you a lovely day, and I hope to see you again in the next CEE Animation Experience Masterclass. Please stay updated through the CEE website. Thanks a lot. I hope you have fun. See you again.
Bye.
Bye.